Okay, so welcome to Books That Built Me, the podcast where mindset meets style and every page leads to transformation. I'm your host, Contagious Shabrilla Moore, mindset and style coach, guiding you through the books that shape my confidence, refine my image, and rebuild how I show up in the world. In each episode, we uncover the wisdom between the lines and how it lives in our closets, our thoughts, and our decisions. This is coaching talk, okay? Not just book talk, for women becoming more of who they were always meant to be. Let's get into it. So, episode 1 is for. Hold on. Episode 1, boundaries are trust. Okay, and then our book we're going to do is a self-disciplined book, and it's a really short book. It is on Barnes and Noble, and it's by Jill Hisson. And I've never read anything by them before, and it has different kind of chakras in it. I did discuss chakras in the prior type of podcast.
Let me tell you about Dora, the new show on Paramount Plus.
It's in, I want to say Style for Growth series 2 in the last episode. And they were talking about chakras. And the third eye chakra is something that I see a certain way. Like, it's really kind of like if I had to put it somewhere right between your eyebrows, right? Like right between, like that's just the area that it is. It's almost like you have to be really careful of it. You can get something in a bean or something. It just so sensitive, right? To the point where it could just immediately experience such damage, which of course is something that we want to avoid. So you have to learn how to protect that spirit. And it's so easy to allow people. Mind if you put it on, can you turn it really like low? So I don't want to overtalk. Or I can move and go to the kitchen too, but we'll just, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to be too focused on her or too focused over here. Right? And but that protectiveness, like even dealing with my daughter, I'm always scared. I'm always nervous. I don't want to leave her anywhere. I want her to be in the best spaces. If anybody says anything to my baby that's derogatory, no matter who it is, to be the closest people to you, parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, anybody, it doesn't matter. And that's really where most people don't always understand. They assume it's because they're family or they're supposed to be people who love you that it's okay, and it's not. You know what I mean? Or even if we take the fact that we have certain people who help us make certain people for granted too, to the point where it's kind of sort of like using those people like you treat them as though they're old tube socks, right? And who wants to continuously be bothered with that? I don't. So I'm not going to call you. We're not going to hang out. I'm not going to reach out because consistently, continuously, it's going to be no point. It's going to be no use. It's going to be a waste of effort and time, which is so valuable. What we say is too short. My mother loves Too Short. My dad loves it as well. Even Drake, he's such in the spirit to the point now where life is so short. You won't even use your names most of the time. Ali, his name is so beautiful. You know what I mean? People have these things, but we have such issues, especially in the Black community, with saying with our names is just rooted in slavery. Nobody, and I was just telling my mother this the other day. I'm like, Mom, every time I come around a white girl, they always think you're like, I'm so less than or whatever. And in the back of my mind, I'm a queen. I'm a great person. You know what I mean? But let somebody else tell it. It's constantly about that self-discipline to have that thought, even if somebody else wants me to think otherwise. That's difficult. It really is. My professors are always saying how I was always in math class and I sucked that number so badly. So I know I'm like just gonna struggle till I die. So if I'm questioning something or I may not know necessarily what's going on and taking place, and if I'm dealing with something that's really hard, especially now, just turn the speaker off and then probably just do it like on 6 or 7, maybe 8. But I wouldn't go no higher right now.
This remote, do we need new batteries or what? Yeah.
But so what I was trying to have said was that, our professor, even dealing with those type of math classes, I was in Tri-C and I was just finishing up a degree that was around, we had been done about 2018. So, it took me some time to kind of figure it out. And by that time, and particularly speaking, You know what I mean? It had been so many issues, and I feel like I always thought that people were thinking I was a liar, and
See?
I hate
No,
lies. And the fact that I was considered one
no,
was always a point to have had, as though, okay, fine, I always have to be
no,
something else, like Aaliyah
no,
says, in order to sincerely find that,
sweetie,
in order to feel as
no.
though I really was considered whatever in somebody's eyes, to find I had to be that, in order to really understand that I'm really speaking in a truthful manner, even if somebody says otherwise, and that I'm not. If I can find a person that doesn't lie and will understand that what's being said is actually factual lies and based in reality and the truth, then that makes them a stand out and a stand up type of character. And that's the difference. You need those people, but how rare and few in between they are. Bar. You have to travel such a ways, even in my father's books, as a man speak, which I'm going to get into later on in the book that built me series, because my father has given us this book. It's our brand space's owner's father, Ronnie R. Moore, okay? And so he'll have those books as a man thinketh, and they'll go into certain journeys. So like I said, I'm not going to get totally into that one now. I'm just going to say that for the prior space. But nonetheless, that's a really great moment to have. You know what I mean? Everybody is not always on that same journey. It's a long and arduous journey, from people trying to figure out what your motives are and why they're this way, and why I had to go here and find the positiveness out of such a search, and people may want to slow it down, and that's irritating, because why? I feel like 50 Cent, you the faggot ass nigga in the back that's trying to pull me back, right? And that's a metaphor to explain the derogatory effects that it feels like psychologically and mentally when you're dealing with people who are of a certain character that's below the one that you freaking idolize or feel is the righteous one. And who wants to be around a person that's irrighteous, that's ill all the time? You have to isolate. You can't be allowed to constantly do the same things, because what if we don't necessarily sincerely want to get sick? What if we want to protect our health, to be there for people who love us and who we love? But that's inconsiderate, right? That doesn't matter. Our name doesn't matter. Where we come from didn't matter. But that's a warped belief that you want to bestow upon me. And then when I kick and scream and want to fight and claw, go home for the day. And you don't get to come around here. Oh well, yeah, okay, whatever. Bye. Okay, we're gonna be okay. Yeah, no problem. I'm gone. I don't want to talk no more. When I turn my back, I won't be back. No, you made it this way. So act like you didn't help with the conversation tone that you held, because you did. And if you say anything else, you consider a liar. So self-discipline is not as easy as people seem. That's how I always really struggle with dealing with that second thing, because it really is challenging to the extent that it's hard. People sometimes can make things worse than what they really need to kind of sort of feel as an experience. And that's something that I've never really rocked with. I've never been the type of person who wanted to not have self-discipline. I always wanted to be reared in that, and I had to really think about it with a fine-tooth comb, because when I think about my own daughter, and I want her to have that discipline and grow up in that atmosphere that people care about her, or what she thinks about matters, or how she views opinions matters, and what's necessarily being done or getting done or is done around her matters. And I don't see anything wrong with that, in particularly speaking. And so when you deal with those different chakras, the third eye chakra, and I'm not even sure that it's the chakra, but just the simple fact that I've seen it, and I'm not sure why. I feel like it's just sitting somewhere at the table. Of course, I'm a foodie, so maybe that's always why. And I always pick cereal or bean, because it's always just dealing with foods. And there's something about the comfort that this provides. And I always feel so bad, because I always feel like it's a sacramental type of problem, right? Like, I'm so about me all the time, and I'm never going to really figure out what's taking place with somebody else. Then if I lose that chance to really experience those things, I'm gonna look like a fool. I'm gonna feel like a butthole. I'm not gonna sure if I should swear, because I mean, YouTube might get upset and get mad. And I don't want to, like, is that risk worth it? Less or more so to remain more humble and upright? You know what I mean? Which one provides the best when it comes to dealing with rewards and benefits? Most likely it's the upright person, not necessarily the foolish person. Indeed, I'm not saying again that it's easy, because it's as though when you have your taste buds, right, you can taste the blood or what you're sacrificing in order to consume so that you live. That's hard. You know what I mean? And sometimes, I was just reading in the Bible the other day that the foods can be so rich that you necessarily are just like, well, no, can I have vegetables and water instead of all of the rich foods plus wine? You know what I mean? Like, especially if you're geared towards a certain task. And I guess that's where fasting comes in. That if you're really troubled, you're really struggling, you really can't figure out your thoughts, and the best thing that you can do is fast. And you fast because you really want to focus. You really, and I hate to say that word focus because I've had so many derogatory experiences with tattoos when it comes to dealing with the tattoo parlor that is entitled focus. And what happens to all of the tattoo parlors in the midst of COVID? They all shut down. We were not allowed to go. Nobody could do anything. There were at home tattoo parties. My cousin, little Frank Williams III, is always in going to have a tattoo party. Every time I turn around, it's a tattoo party popping off, and it's like, okay, well, we get here, the person that I'm thinking is gonna be cool and the prettiest has been totally dragged through the mud, probably by their hair and dirt, scars and scrapes all over their freaking face, basically, in so many words, so to speak. And then you're supposed to come into my face. We're supposed to be all chit chatting. No, that's not gonna happen today. Okay, I'm crying, I'm in tears, I'm upset. Self-discipline is challenging. Not to spaz out constantly. As James Baldwin says, to be black is to remain in a constant state of rage, period. Day in, day out, from sun up to sundown, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 12s open to closes. Every diaper change, every swat, every smile is riddled with some kind of extracurricular. Within the next 10, I'm back in the sour face, and it's going to stay that way until I laugh or someone makes me laugh. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to laugh because I see the beauty in it sincerely. How rare is the beauty of people, and that's why it just kills me when we take it for granted. We treat it any kind of way. We feel as though it doesn't matter when it did. And that's where you lose me every time. So every time I say that I'm gone, it's something that has taken place that has allowed myself to walk away. And as my rituals always say, speaking of shark words, they express that is where it needs to be at if you lose it. And that's necessarily, so to speak, why everything is so rooted in the challenges of self-discipline. But it does make you sharper, wiser, keener, more in depth into what's going on taking place around. Just like a deep-rooted tree trunk bark. It ain't going nowhere easily. It ain't rooted in something that's so fickle. You just blow on it and it tumbles over. Most likely, if you push it, it's going to give a little pushback. Okay? You might hurt your arm trying to push it. You know what I mean? And so, just be mindful, be mindful, be mindful, be mindful. And this book is really new to myself. Like, as a man think of, it's probably been around maybe about a decade. Napoleon Hill's probably been around for at least 2 decades that have built me. What I said before, like, I'm not sure other women read other books and it's something to relate about. I'm not, you know what I mean? Or this could be the first time that you all are hearing it. For myself, if I do find books that somebody else has read, cool. If I have just learned from a new book from somebody else, that's cool too. If you just learned from something about myself that I just did and shared that all with you, cool. I don't have an issue with any of those type of things, but it has to be done in a sincere manner. That is what matters most. That is where the drama is at. That's why the problems are there, because someone has failed to do those things over and over and over again. And I was just having a conversation with my father, our business owner's dad as well. And we're constantly like, it's not about necessarily wanting to be a certain way, even though something is done, that it's a sincere thought there. It's more so about, well, okay, just because that is that, what does that have to do with that? And that is hard. That's necessarily, so to speak, where the challenge is, because it's about having that kind of sort of awareness that that's taking place, and then you have your own awareness of how that actually has caused a certain thought, and then you have an awareness there as well that something that is not necessarily about that is also there. So how is that counterbalance about necessarily, so to speak, how, and sometimes I always want to go back into that same thought of prevention. That's one of the key avoidances of all insincere thoughts and drama. Just avoid it. Just prevent it. Just prevent any insincere thought from taking root in your heart. You know what I mean? It's almost like the lusting after the female. As soon as you did it, you already committed a sin. Just prevent that from happening. Just focus on something else. Who says they even want you in the first place? That's your conceited mindset. That's your Dan and thought. Like, oh, I'm just so fine. Oh, okay. Like, who in their right mind believes they fine all the time? We stink, we smell, we poop, we sweat. You know what I mean? We hairy all over the place. You know what I mean? We constantly need our hair done. Like, what? Like, come on. Like, it's never about always just having the physical aspect of every single thing. That's only reasons that we choose to exploit. I'm not sure where that came from, but again, but that's decades and hundreds of centuries old. Mind you, and y'all already know I feel as though my soul is very old, let alone my principles. I don't even want to think about their ages sometimes. Like, it's just crazy. So I just leave it alone. So anyway, let's go ahead on now and finish this up. So, thank you for joining me for another chapter of Books That Built Me. This episode reshaped your mindset or refreshed your style. Leave a comment or review, and don't forget to wear your truth boldly, ladies. Okay. So, again, till next time, I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Holla.